So it's not about fighting anything else. They're not going to be so anti something. They're going to just be more pro something else. And that's better for us as human beings, is that instead of having I'm against that vibration in us, well, then what are you for? And so you'll start to support things like, people are supporting organic farms more or this kind of thing.
What about the election?
So
we are going to be in an election year.
We are going to be in an election year. And I don't think you need to be a psychic to know who's got all the energy behind them. So
who?
There's no one who has more energy than...
Hello, Hill Squad. We are back for part 2 of my conversation with psychic medium and channeler Riz Mirza. We are talking today all about 2024, what we have to look forward to, including AI, some incredible health advancements that he is seeing with AI specifically that I think you guys are going to love. I know personally one of them affects me and my family, so I'm very excited. Also, we are talking about election year and what he sees. You may or may not be surprised by what he's about to say for that, and so much more. So without further ado, here's my part 2 with Riz.
Now you have to experience your day from that place. No one needs to change. No one needs to do anything differently. No one needs to apologize. You don't need to forgive anyone. You don't need to ask for forgiveness. You don't need to do anything for anyone to make you feel better anymore. There's no more emotional weight from all the years, all the conversations, all the things you've experienced as a person in the public eye. None of that matters anymore. And you're even here for more than that. So now you're no longer coming from a capacity. People ask me all the time, how do you do all the different things? I see so many people. I do deep one-on-one work with people for all of these years in the bone marrow of people. I'm in there with them. And on top of that, having a marriage, having a family and the kids and my own self. I go, how do you stay energized? I'm 54. And they go, how do you do it? And I say, I'm not coming from I'm not in the ring fighting and then I go in the corner when they ring the bell and they dump water on my head. I'm always coming from everything I'm doing is giving me energy. So even when I'm at the gym, if I'm curling a bar, I'm not going, I'm expending energy. I'm like lifting energy into me.
Ooh. What a way to look at things.
What's the alternative?
What a change.
Yeah, what a change. So here's where I come from, and here's what I want you guys to experiment with. And it'll take time, but try this a couple of times a day. Try to remind yourself that you are never and have never been in the wrong place at the wrong time. It has never happened, and it never will happen. You're always exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't ever make it wrong. Now, this doesn't mean that you're just never going to grow or change or try to do something new. Doesn't mean that. You still will. That's a given. Because remember, you're a creative being. You'll always want more, so you'll always be doing things. What I'm talking about is so that you're no longer trying to change the past, because people will tell you can't change the past. And I go, I can. How? How can you change the past? Oh, well, I talk about it differently.
Oh, come on, Riz. How many times are you going to do this to me today?
Tell me the worst things. If I'm going to give you what the worst things happened to me, someone will say, well, Riz, okay, but you lost your brother, you lost your mother, you lost your father, you lost your best friend to suicide. You're going to say that those things didn't happen. You're going to say that, how are you going to change that past? I didn't lose them. Let's start there. You said I lost them. So I already changed that past. That's not my reality that I lost them. I feel them with me. Oh, what else? Well, I don't think that they died. I believe that they crossed over and surrendered into the most magnificent version of themselves. Now, that takes a lot more words than saying they died or passed away, but I'd rather use a lot more words that conveys a much better, more powerful meaning, but that gives me more freedom and peace than to simply say, well, they died of cancer, and so that's it, and now my life has been ruined.
And cancer sucks, and life sucks.
Yeah.
And yeah.
How much fight do we have in us? And we say, well, to the end. And I go, yeah, but because you've just destroyed the word surrender. When you're in school, they teach you that the army surrendered, so that means they lost. Oh, so if you surrender to love, you've lost? If you surrender to a hug, you've lost? If you surrender to the salsa music, you've lost? If you've surrendered to this beautiful Grand Canyon in front of you, you've lost? No, you've won. So what I teach is that the way of surrender is the way of victory. Your victory is your surrender. You're not surrendering to an illness. That's not what you're surrendering to. What if you surrender to wellness? What if you surrender? Isn't it much better to surrender to a feeling? And I'm sure you've done it, right? Haven't you done meditations where you're like filling your body with light? What if instead of filling your body with light, you were surrendering to the light that was already in your body?
Rather than trying to draw it in.
Right, because what's that old saying? The cracks in you are to let the light in. Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's great.
It is, but I got one better. The cracks in you are to let the light out.
Oh my God.
Right.
Wait, but when the bad things happen, those are the cracks that let the light out.
Yes.
Well, because
Why are
that's
you
the only
separate from the
time.
light?
Yeah, that's the only time that you really stop and see what life is really about. What it really means is usually in those hard times.
Because that's what we're going through as a planet more and more and more, is that all of these situations that are happening in the world on every level, we don't even need to get into details.
Yeah.
Just on every level, massive changes. Let's talk for a moment. I know this may seem like we're jumping somewhere, but I'm here to talk about things I see that people are worried about in the future. Number one, people are really worried about AI.
Yes.
Okay. And the idea that robots are going to take over. That's what the general public, that's what they think. They don't have time to read every article about artificial intelligence, right? So several years ago.
How many articles have you read?
I watch a lot of videos on AI from the people who design it to people who complain about it. I've been fascinated with these ideas of the first book I read about AI was actually called Frankenstein.
Hilarious. Yeah.
The book Frankenstein, which is written by Mary Shelley, who, by the way, I've channeled Mary Shelley. And those of you who don't know what channeling is, go to my website. You'll see what channeling is. And I had channeled Mary Shelley. And she had come through me and written several paragraphs about how her book was not a book about, it wasn't a monster book. No, it was about God and man. It was about the ideas of creation. It was about the ideas of oneness, about togetherness, about someone who's different, about what is real and what is not real. Isn't love the only thing that's real?
Wow.
And how does it come through, right? So that book is very profound. It's kind of a long read, but if you get a chance to read it, guys, go back and read Frankenstein. By the way, did you know that Frankenstein's not the name of the monster? It's the name of the doctor.
Wouldn't even know that.
Right. It was Frankenstein's monster. It was Dr. Frankenstein and then the monster.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was about artificial intelligence, many, many books. So one of the things I wanted to share with you guys was there's, like anything else, tools can be used to build or to destroy. You have a hammer, it can build the studio, and it will be used to tear down the studio, right? It's the tool. These microphones, you can speak whatever you want into these microphones. This technology will be carrying it out. It is a technology. It is going to find its way. There will be, for everything that we say, well, how will we know if it's made by AI? There's enough energy and people on the planet who want to regulate it, who will be fighting for how can we regulate this so we know what is created by AI, and there will be a rating system. I see that that's going to come into play about that things will have to be, there'll have to be full disclosure about how things were made. And there will be a governing body that will be set up because we are going to have to get to that point where people will have to know how something was created, just like ingredients that are how they are sourced on a piece of food.
We don't even have that on the regular internet. How are we going to get there
because
to be
something
able to do that here?
I'll tell you why. Because something has to get your attention or has to scare you bad enough. People aren't scared enough of the internet. There's too much fun stuff going on. But as soon as AI, there's a visceral reaction. Did you see that AI of Anderson Cooper?
No.
So Anderson Cooper had someone make an AI of Anderson Cooper.
Was it amazing?
A deep fake. Yeah, because the way he did the segment was that when the camera panned to a different angle, it was the AI finishing the sentence. So he was standing in the green screen studio and he's saying, so I'd like to talk to you guys about AI. Artificial intelligence has been around for this period. Then the camera switched and then he continued speaking to the other camera.
fake
and then
Anderson.
at the end, yes, and then the fake Anderson did that. And then in the middle of it, he goes, by the way, those words that you just heard, I never said, because that other camera angle was my deep fake AI.
And the AI just carried the
Perfection.
conversation without even planning what he was going to say.
Yes.
That is so creepy.
So it was perfection.
I keep trying to prepare my dad. I go, Dad, just so you know, people could take my image and they could make me say horrible things.
Of course.
They can visually have me doing horrible things, and you will never know it's not me.
That's right.
You're just going to have to trust me.
That's right.
And you're going to have to hope that it's me talking to you. I'm kidding.
Exactly.
When I'm telling you this, and there's
But it's true. And this is, we're getting to the point where now we're talking about creating what appears to be life. That's why I brought up Frankenstein, right? So here we are creating this version, which is on video. Now let's jump 1,000 years from now. 1,000, not 100, 1,000. And imagine a very realistic 3-dimensional hologram. Well, you don't think in 1,000 years we'll have unbelievable holograms? We have pretty good holograms now.
Yeah.
Pretty good. But imagine in 1,000 years, not 100. Remember, 100 years, where was the iPhone? We were like at, still doing telegraphs, right? Telegrams. So now we are going to be looking at what is the future of this. We can never know how something is going to affect us 100 years down the line. There are certain Native American tribes that had a philosophy that was that they didn't, every move that they made, they used to think about how it affects 7 generations, which is very noble, but how will you really know? Where psychics come in handy is that good psychics, we are attuned differently. A good psychic, and let's talk about psychic energy. So we talk about predicting the future. Think about this 3-dimensional reality. We're sitting here with chairs, walls, a house, and we're going to get up and do things. And then when we have dreams, that kind of shifts. I was sitting in my studio with you, Riz, and then we flew up out of our chairs and went through the wall. And it was just as real as I'm talking to you right now. Then we have people who have had NDEs, near-death experiences, who say, I floated out of my body, saw my body on the operating table, and then I went through the roof of the hospital and I was at the beach, and then I went to another dimension, and then they came back. Then we have these programs where these little kids are remembering their past lives. Have you seen this? There's a show called... It's on Discovery. I think it's called The Ghost Inside My Child. And
my God.
At 2 or 3 years, but there's no ghost. It's just at 2 or 3 years old, they're having detailed memories of who they were. Names, dates, places, addresses, things they couldn't have known about.
Wow.
So you'll really get a kick out of that show. Very fascinating. So what is all this? It's been around since as far back as you can remember. We've had psychics and shamans. No matter what skin color you are, no matter what background you're from, your ancestors were in tribes. Before religions and before organized things, we were in tribes, and they were doing just fine. They had a very powerful spiritual belief system, and they were very well organized, and there was a medicine person, there was a shaman, there was always a psychic or a seer, right? There were warriors, there were farmers. Everyone had their role. Everyone had their gift. There was a person who sang. So what we're doing is, as a psychic, you just have a better ear. It's like someone who's a very good musician. They know you hit a key on the piano and they go, oh, that's an A sharp or whatever. They can just tell. So psychics have a hearing about frequencies that are around a person. So when I do predictions about bigger topics, like what's going to happen in a particular year, I'm feeling into the consciousness of where things are going and little surprises that are popping up. So one of the things that was coming up with AI is that, which is a very nice surprise, it's going to be wonderful leaps in medical technology. Wonderful leaps. Earlier when we were talking before the show started, I said, Maria, there's going to be, why not is going to be this fun experience for you in 2024, like ideas that'll come to you, where it's not about your personal journey of your health. It's going to be more about, what would I like to see and create, whether it's in a small way? I don't care if you were just by yourself somewhere putting flowers together, or you're creating some new enterprise. You're not going to be drained from it because you're coming from wonderment rather than, is this thing going to work, or is this exactly the way I want it to be? It's just your wonderment that has the power. And part of your big experience in your journey of life with your body and facing so many almost near-death experiences for yourself, or at least in your mind, was that you had to either shrink or you had to expand. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to do? You can't shrink.
Yeah.
There's no way. You'll have to expand beyond your wildest old perceptions of who you're here to be.
Funny, because I feel like I always had to shrink to survive.
Yeah.
Because people didn't like the bigness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been a struggle. That's been the battle of when can I expand and where can I expand safely.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
So now I can because I work for myself.
You sure can. Exactly. So now what you're seeing is, so the AI is going to help in health. It's going to be creating what I think is so beautiful. It depends on how you look at it. When it comes to things that give us joy, like entertainment, imagine if talented writers, really talented ones that are really dropped in, and really talented artists decided, well, we're going to make a movie with Bruce Lee. He only got to make 2 movies in his life. We have enough footage of him. We're going to make new Bruce Lee movies. And we're going to really care about it. See, the more you care, the better something is, right? You put what you put into it. So, oh, wow, that would be entertaining, right? Imagine your favorite artist still, they're able to bring them to life in a film or a virtual reality experience. We go, okay, that's cool, but I don't want anyone imitating me. You go, right. So there's always going to be a flip side of how you use a tool. But here's what's going to be interesting. You're going to eventually ask AI for the solution of how to control AI.
Oh my God. AI, how do I control you?
What's the best way to limit AI use and influence on us? What are all the best safety precautions? And the AI will tell you, because they're not going to be coming from any emotion.
Do you see something specifically that AI is going to help with health-wise?
Yes.
What?
Diabetes.
Oh my Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, that's the one I see it with. Yeah. Also, I'm seeing it for Alzheimer's, so all
what
brain related.
What specifically with diabetes? Do you see something specific?
Yes. We already know how to deal with later stage diabetes. It's more about, because that's about
the type 2.
It's lifestyle.
Just
Yeah.
diet,
Yeah. But,
but what I have type 1.
Right. You're born with. My brother was born with that, which is juvenile diabetes.
Well,
right?
I got it.
How old were you?
A year ago, year and a half
And they
ago.
still call it type 1. Isn't that interesting? So my brother had been born with that. And what I see is that they're understanding how, and look, I'm speaking from a psychic's perspective. I can't use too much medical jargon, but in my meditations, that's one thing that dropped in for me, was that they're going to really understand the role of enzymes. These are the words, I had made a list of it at home. So it was about how enzymes and peptides are working together to feed the pancreas and to rejuvenate the pancreas. It's going to teach us how to rejuvenate the pancreas through certain therapies. And I kept getting it was peptide and enzyme therapies. So how interesting is that?
Interesting.
Another thing that was coming up was AI was going to figure out the traffic problem in this country.
What?
Yes. Because we're
Is it because we're going to become the Jetsons and have little orbs that we fly above it?
I wish it was that. I've been waiting for that since 1984. Are you kidding me? We were promised that growing up as Gen X, that we'd be flying cars.
We got FaceTime. They gave us FaceTime.
Right? Jetsons had a lot of stuff in there. So, yes, it was about solving congestion problems, because all we can come up with is, okay, we got to have trains and we got to have flying cars, but that's not going to work. So I saw that there's going to be a great advancement in figuring out a different way to handle.
In this year, 2024?
The seeds of it will be spoken to us. The other thing, and by the way, this is not about AI, but I have to tell you, and we're starting to see the disclosure on extraterrestrial life. Okay, we're starting to see that already. It's already at the Senate level, right?
Okay.
So right now we're going through the tug of war of whistleblowers or people who are being silenced, and now there was all this movement forward, and now they're going back and forth.
Again.
Yeah, but what I see when I predict is in August or September of this coming year, I see a very big event happening, which is going to be very undeniable, like very clear footage, and it's going to be released, not through their own control, but I do see that coming out.
Can I be friends with the first alien? I want that to be my life.
Some of them are not.
I want to be the first friend with an alien.
They are so cute, but there are many different races and beings. But I do see some very undeniable footage, and what's going to happen is people are going to say this was faked AI footage, but it is going to come from a very reputable source, is what I see, and I see that towards the end of summer.
Hold your predictions for 1 second, because
Sure.
I do have to share with everybody, and I hate that I have to interrupt your flow. Don't forget it. because we do have to share some of our amazing supporters of this show before I forget. Obviously, Macys, you guys know. We were chatting about Macys and our love for Macys before. I was there this weekend shopping and got some great stuff. In fact, I did see their new brand on 34th there. There were some really bright colors, guys. Bright greens, almost like a lime green, but not lime green. Sweaters, really bright, bold clothing. So if you don't know about Macys' all new brand on 34th, it was designed for women like you, for your body, your style, whatever your day has in store, you can design. Each piece is designed to mix and match in your closet. And like I said, right now, if you're looking for something bold to wear in this holiday season, this is great. Also, they have free personal stylists. So take advantage of their free personal stylist at Macys.com/personal stylist. You can have them help you with a mini new wardrobe for the new year or something for the holidays, a wedding coming up. I got a wedding coming up in February. So check them out. And then one other supporter I have to mention, because I know you're a big fan of them too, is Whey.
Oh my God, love him.
So I did my hair this morning and I use my Whey oil on my ends. But you know the way I do it? Your hair is different, obviously. Yeah. But one of the ways I learned from top hairstylists is to put it in your hands and, mix it and then just whack your hair.
Wow.
Rather than touching and pulling your hair and making it really oily, whack your hair. So it just kind of grazes it. It's kind of a cool technique.
Proven right in front of us. Looks really good.
What are your favorite Whey products?
So it's so interesting because one of the people that I work with that I do readings for had like an entire shelf of them in his office. So I don't know what they do, PR or something. And I came home he's like, do you want anything for your girls? Because I have 4 stepdaughters. And I'm like, sure. And I came with all of this stuff, and then I don't have a lot to do with it, but it was one of those like gels that do like the anti-frizz kind of stuff. So I don't know the name of it, but it like worked like a charm. It was amazing, and they went crazy for it. And my girls all have different hairstyles because they're of mixed backgrounds, and so their hair is like super curly or it'll be super thick, and then one of them has very thin hair, like very Native American, and it does wonders. And they when they saw it, their eyes lit up because they knew like how high quality this stuff is. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to work with, but I use a little bit of it.
Well, you are very stylish with your hair, so I love it. So get your fast fix for healthy looking hair, friends. Go to theway.com. It's THEOUAI.com. Use Heal Squad at the checkout for 15% off. That's theway.com, THEOUAI.com, code Heal Squad. Okay, back to our predictions.
Okay.
Your predictions, not mine.
What topic would you like me to drop in with?
Okay, so we talked AI. I'm very excited that diabetes is at the top of that list.
Helping with the
traffic. You also said Alzheimer's.
Yes. So one of the things with Alzheimer's is, and that I found very fascinating and it's heartbreaking at the same time over all these years, is that we are, in a sense, we're learning what is creating that physical blockage on the brain. I think they refer to it as plaque, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I was just tuning into my spirit guides and saying, well, where are we going to see advancements? That this is going to be such a triumphant moment where they're going to find out how to stop that buildup from happening. I don't think it's from the cure of who's already got it.
Yeah,
but the first stage, it's very, very promising. Another thing is that what's going to play a prominent role in this is the use of certain mushrooms to heal the brain. So there's a lot of research right now on psilocybin, right, which are called magic mushrooms, which now if you watch these documentaries on Netflix, fantastic fungi, is amazing. They're finding out that these incredible organic, I like to say beings because they have this incredible consciousness, have been reversing or growing, new brain cells.
Oh, wow.
So if you look at there's a study by John Hopkins and the University of South Florida where that psilocybin was regrowing brain cells in mice and like new brain cells. There's nothing that does that.
What mushrooms? Do you buy these at the supermarket?
No, the kind like college, magic mushrooms and use in sacred ceremonies. Like a lot of people use them now for spiritual advancement. There's all these NFL players talking about it. Nicole Kidman's show was all about that.
So where do you get them?
Well, you can't. That's the thing. You can't get them.
I want brain cells. Where do I go?
So what's happening is that, but it's going to be right now. It's been decriminalized in Oregon and certain parts of California and Colorado. But within the year, what I see is that legislation is going to pass so that there's a very, very beneficial, natural, no side effect substance can be used to heal not only PTSD and emotional trouble that people are having, but it's going to work for Alzheimer's and slowing it down. And I see that actually is working to reverse it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Back to the diabetes for a second. Are they going to allow that industry to tank with the cure? Because
No,
it's
what do you
a
mean?
multi-billion-dollar industry that just goes down the tank. All the things that we use, all the supplies, if they can figure it out, how to regenerate the pancreas.
Well, now we're going into like, well, who's going to stop it? Look, eventually you can't stop fossil fuels will have to be stopped being used anyway because oil is going to run out. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is that the companies are over time, they know eventually it's going to run out. So that's why you are going to see more hybrid vehicles. You are going to see more electric vehicles, and they're going to figure out how to use that as well. Even right now, look what happened with marijuana, with cannabis, with all of the beneficial properties of cannabis. They figured out a way to legalize it. And other industries probably suffered because people were using cannabis, they needed less of other things. So it is going to even out because people always want more. Don't worry, greed will always be there. Greed will always find a way to make money. So even though you'll lose that, something else will rise. It's the balance, right, of nature. But they can no longer hold it back because
AI.
No, I'm talking about the cure.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is that there's so much information coming out there and so many people's voices are being heard now thanks to internet and people talking about it. Just as what happened with UFOs. It was you were considered a joke if you brought up UFOs 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just 10 years ago. People thought, come on. And now it's a Senate hearing. It's in the New York Times. It's spoken on every news station. It's being taken. Congressmen are talking about were there alien bodies in these craft? And the guy is in the Senate hearing going, yes. Then they asked this other pilot from our Air Force, what about you? Yes.
Yeah.
So people who used to think this was a joke. So the same thing is going to happen. And I see this very, very powerful. I want to talk about, a lot of people are really interested in what's happening with like precious stones and mining and all of this stuff that's going on. I see a very strong shift from out of precious stones. I see that is the consciousness is going to be shifting out of needing diamonds or rubies or emeralds. It's going to completely turn to new kinds of man-made stones that are going to be really beautiful to look at, more spectacular than even looking at a diamond. Isn't that interesting? But it will be without having to all the damage that we do to the planet and all the robbing and the people who are suffering in those mines doing it. Yeah. That's going to change. And it's not going to be more of a battle. It's going to be people's tastes are changing. They are going into, why do I need to do that anymore when I can just do this? They're going to consider certain things more superficial. They're going to say, I don't want to have diamonds. That's fine if you don't want it. And they're going to start promoting and putting their energy into things that are pleasing them more. So it's not about fighting anything else. They're not going to be so anti something. They're going to just be more pro something else. And that's better for us as human beings, is that instead of having I'm against that vibration in us, well, then what are you for? And so you'll start to support things like, people are supporting organic farms more or this kind of thing.
What about the election?
So
we are going to be in an election year.
We are going to be in an election year. And I don't think you need to be a psychic to know who's got all the energy behind them. So
who?
There's no one who has more energy than Trump going on right now. There's a lot of energy behind him.
So are you able to see who you think will win?
Yes.
Who do you think's going to
win? I think he's going to win.
You think Trump's going to win?
Yeah.
Wow.
Things that are happening, I know, and I look at it as whether who supports people or not. See, I come from a different place as a psychic. I don't have will have my personal opinions about who I like. I could like this guy's face better than this person's face. I like what they say versus another. But in the scope of the universe, everything is to move us forward along. Everything.
Even bad.
Even your broken ankle is to move you forward along. It's to move you forward. Everything happens for a purpose. So you can fight your good fight, whatever it is, whether you're on this side or you're on that side or you're on another side. But what you're going to find out is that energy will, what is that thing in Jurassic Park, life finds a way? What they meant by that was that what needs to occur, remember, everything is a catalyst. You always want things that are that catalyzes, if that's a word, is a catalyst for change. So sometimes a catalyst for change is something that doesn't feel good. It helps you clarify what does feel good to you, and helps you clarify your thoughts. See, consciousness has to change. If you don't change the consciousness of a group of people, you can't, their choices are based on where their consciousness is at. And you go, well, people, now you're going to go into very earthly things, which is why I'm not really here for earthly things. I'm here for psychic energy things, because the moment you go into these things, suddenly it becomes polarizing. But this person's doing is wrong, and that person's wrong. And how could you say this? Because this person affects this, and this is how. Now we're going into a battle of earthly things. But if we stay overarching, understanding from a perspective, first, number one, you are going to always be responsible for your own happiness and your peace. Because if your guy wins for the next 4 years, then you're happy. And if your guy doesn't win for the next 4 years, now you're going to be upset about something for 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's up to you and the cells in your body of what you want to feel. I'm not going to let the cells of my body be upset for 4 years about who's president. I will, if I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But I'm not going to allow that to dictate the joy of my life.
Well, we have to be like that because someone's going to win and someone's going to lose.
That's right. And you think that the person that you want to win is going to do everything perfectly?
Yeah. So do you
Both
see...
wings belong to the same bird, baby.
Do we see danger in that time?
Yes. So there is. It's unavoidable. I do see it. I don't like the fact that I see it, but I do see that the energy is building up, and there's a new energy happening with this next generation, with Gen Z and the following generation coming after them, that want peace by all means. And they're not going to put up for confrontation and fighting. They're not about that. There's a group of souls coming in. It's not about me and you. It's not even about the millennials. It's about younger than that. It's Gen Z and the next who do not see any kind of discrimination against each other as acceptable in any form. And they're going to grow up without it because they see that we're all involved in it. We're still in the fight. And they're coming in as a consciousness to not be involved in that. And so they're not going to accept it from each other. And, sooner or later, we're all going to be gone. It's going to be in their world. It's still our world, too. We share it. But understand that there's a lot of souls being born into the planet right now, coming from the higher dimensions, who are not about fighting and are not about wars and are not about killing. And they're going to change how they see things, even within the communities they're born into. Because you're born into a community, you're taught that this is your community. Mm-hmm. This is your community.
This is what we believe.
And you're born into it, and you're born into that community. And that's it. If you had been born into that community, you'd be believing what that community believes in. That sucks, in my opinion. No, I'm not here to just be told what community I'm born into is the one that everything's my community. You want to know what's my community? Everywhere that I am is my community, because I'm coming from a place that I want to commune. It's not about my skin color, and it's not about whatever background I supposedly come from. That's just one lifetime. See, when you come from being a psychic, I always tell people, don't get too used to this ethnicity that you think that you are, and this religion and this gender and this DNA background, because it's only one lifetime. And more than likely, this is your first time being the thing that you think you are. And we're so loyal to it. We are loyal to the death about who we think that we are. And you're going to get a big surprise. Just talk to a medium. For us mediums, you're going to get a big surprise when you cross over, and you're going to find out you're not the ethnicity nor the background nor anything that you thought that you were. You were just a being of light that chose that for one particular lifetime, with all of the decorations of that so-called ethnic identity.
Wow.
And all the history that you have behind it. And my ancestors, you have ancestors from different lifetimes. Why do you keep thinking your ancestors are from this lifetime? You have ancestors when you had a different skin color, a different religion, a different part of the world. What about a different universe, a different planet? But we're so concerned with this thing. Mm-hmm. And so when you come from here, it's always about you and them. Always. And then it becomes the battle. And then the battle ensues. The battle becomes the war, and the war leads to destruction and then vengeance. And there's the cycle. And all of, it's referred to in almost all kind of religious scriptures of every background, because they're talking about the nature of fighting in war, the nature of separation from the light. And I say to people all the time, and what I want to share with you and with you guys out there is who you're trying to be. This version of yourself that you want to become is not someone that you need to muscle your way into and build into. This version of who you want to be and who you see yourself as exists within you right now. Right now, as you're hearing me talk right now, this version of you exists right now in perfect form. And all you have to do is surrender to that version. You don't have to try to muscle your way into them. They're not living somewhere, outside of you through accomplishments and achievements. And no, it's a surrender to that being within you. Allow them to take over. That's the compassionate one in you. That is the creative one in you. That is the one that knows how to let go of the past, let go of fears of the future, let go of fears of the present. That version of yourself exists right now. And are you going to give yourself permission to let them take over? Or are you going to continue to try to control this ship? And controlling this ship, like you're trying to protect that version of yourself until it's safe for them to come out. But why would you say that? Isn't that version of you the most magical version? So why would you have to protect the most magical version of yourself? Why don't you let them create the magic for you? This is the deprogramming that I talk about. This is where you start to awaken out of that slumber. It's a coma that I call coming out of your spiritual death. Because how many people, when they come out of a coma, really appreciate that moment? They come out and they're like, you're the nurse. They're like, oh my God, it's so nice to see you. Oh my God, look at those plant over there. It could be the most ordinary plant. It could be the most ordinary blind room in the hospital, but everything starts to look more beautiful because the gratitude is there. And so when you have a spiritual awakening, it's like you're coming out of a coma, and you are quite literally coming out of a coma. You're coming out of the coma of how you have enshrouded yourself with protective layers that are based on past disappointments. That's not living. How is that living? Anyone can see that's not living. So this is why it's so important, I feel, especially the work that you're doing, Maria, and to even have this program, which is so many people have come on talking about these things. And there's so much more in the universe than what we see with our eyes. So me as a psychic, I've dedicated myself that all my messages for people would be about helping them to unlock. And as a shaman, what I do when I work with people is I'm breaking through. And let me tell you, sometimes I have to break through. I got to rip this thing off of them that they're holding on for dear life. And I have to rip it off them and go, what were you wearing that suit of lead for? Now I see you. Are you still afraid? What are you afraid of? But hey, this is the breakthrough, breakdown, breakthrough, right?
Wow. So many amazing things to unpack for all of us, just kind of how we frame things, how we see things. I was talking about perspective recently, and it's similar. It's like, what's your perspective? How are you going to view these negative things? I find that for me, the gift in all the bad things that have happened is that I don't look at them as bad.
Right.
They're on the outside labeled as bad, but I have seen them as rebirths and moments of redirection. Even recently something redirected me. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm not eating sugar and I think it's hurting my body. Okay, great. So I'm going to have some apples. I'm going to have some fruit. I'm going to, let loose a little bit and have some dark chocolate, whatever.
Right.
And realizing that even when you're trying to do good, you can be doing bad when you're being too controlling about it.
Right. Because what's happening, okay, let's talk about that. Because what's happening is that secretly the vibration isn't free.
Yes.
You're just going through the motions of, well, I'm going to have this little piece of chocolate right now because this is what I should do, but secretly, and see, I'm being free by eating it, but inside the vibration is the opposite.
Yeah.
We've seen this over and over and over again where, like I said, you can put on a face. So you have to go to the core belief. The core belief, what is a core belief? It is a belief that you don't really even know you have. What do you mean by that, Riz? I would say, well, here, if someone were to ask you what your beliefs are, everyone would say, I believe in love, I believe in peace, I believe in all the good things.
It's what you want to believe in.
Of course.
It's what do you really believe in?
And yes.
It's like we always say in careers, like, what do you want? But what do you really want?
Right.
Because it's the same thing in careers. Like, what do you really want? You really want to sit on the couch and play video games, but you want to be Spielberg.
Right.
But you really want to play video games.
Right. So
what do you really want?
Right. And that is just about, because the kid who's playing video games that really wants to be Spielberg, she may be looking at that and say to herself, yeah, but maybe I'm not really a Spielberg, and so I should just keep playing video games. No, it's what in this moment, in this experience, can you surrender to, and you're surrendering to this fire, this explosiveness inside that you came into this life with, this supernova that you already are. Because you're not here to be the next Spielberg. You're here to be the first you. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it's nice. We all need idols and heroes. If you don't have idols and heroes, you need to check yourself, because this whole world, all of creation, is about what we are emulating. And if you don't have those heroes and idols, it's probably because you're judging somebody too much. Because you go, I can't believe in that person. Why? Where's the love? Would you believe in them if they were your son or your brother? Oh, now you'd believe in them. Mm-hmm. But because they're a stranger. I'm going to tell you something interesting. These little moments where you check yourself. I used to live in this house up on this canyon where the road on the weekends, people would be driving up on their motorcycles and making, sometimes they would come up and make so much noise and disturb my peace, right? And then I thought, one day I heard a voice, one of my spirit guides said to me, what if those were your nephews driving up right now in their new motorcycles coming to visit you? Would the sound change for you then? I'd say, yeah, it'd be a really welcoming sound. And then I thought, so it's because I don't know these people? Wait, I just proved myself the opposite. If those were my nephews riding up on their loud motorcycles to my house, I wouldn't be annoyed. So it is because I don't know them. It's because I don't feel oneness with them. I was like, holy shit, oneness is everything. I'm resisting the sound because I don't know these people. And so I'm easily like, get them off my road. But I would never say that if they were my friends. So I started to realize that it was about how I see everyone. And if anything takes bravery in this world, is for you to start to see people with more love. Because you're busting through layers and layers of programming that you're separate from people and that you can't trust them. And you go, well, but you can't trust everyone. But here's the thing. I trust life. I don't need to trust people. I trust life. It's not that I don't trust people. It's that overarching, I trust that I'm never in the wrong place at the wrong time, hearing the wrong things.
Yes. And that's where the surrender comes.
And that's where the surrender comes. And if you get that, oh, my friends, if you get that, you will win. And what are you winning? Your peace.
What a great place to stop. I love that.
We can go on, I know.
When I surrender, it feels so good.
Let's do it.
And then I
Let's
go back
do
to
it.
controlling.
But
It's so familiar.
You surrender to joy, surrender to peace, surrender that things are spontaneous and being created for you in a way that is actually better for you.
Yeah, better than you could have ever created yourself.
We don't, when we hear our voice for the first time, when we were kids, we had tape recorders, and you recorded everyone, then you heard your voice, and you're like, I don't sound like that. Yeah. And you're like, I don't sound like that. That's not my voice. But everyone else sounded like them. It's because we lack that perspective on ourselves. We're too close.
I know.
Yeah.
So funny. Riz, love this chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm excited now for all the great things that AI is going to bring us, especially this diabetes cure.
We're very close, and we're very clever people. We're going to use the AI to help solve the problem with the AI.
I love it. Well, that's the only way at this point. They're going to be smarter than us, so we got to ask who's smarter than us.
Exactly. We're doing that even now by having conversations.
I love it. Yeah. Okay, friends, that ends my two-parter with Riz Mirza. If you want to know more about him, just check the link in the summary of this episode. As always, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you're enjoying the show. If this is something that you loved, please share it with a friend. That's how we can expand what we get to do here every single day, is if we get the word out. So share this episode with a friend. And in the meantime, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or MariaMenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.